Good morning. This is Saturday, uh, okay, May the 29th. This is a first ever talk with a better or more or a formal setup. In the past, I've been doing videos while I'm driving or after having my workout sitting out there in the porch. And even though the message gets across, that's the whole purpose. I felt that it was just better to have something like this. There was someone last week who had I had posted a picture of a cup of coffee. He said, "Oh, I'd like to have a cup of coffee with you." And I said, "Oh, that gives me a good idea." So that's how I came up with this thought that it'd be good to have like a weekly video discussing a number of things. I don't plan to have guests every week. What is that I'm trying to do? Keep right on promoting the services of the law office of Rafael Solorzano, providing information, helping and empowering people with factual information. And so the purpose of this show is actually to keep on doing that, but trying to make it more interactive and having people post questions. It's already 10:01, so we're formally beginning this now. And I did post a link on Baja Legal Advice for people to be able to ask questions because I am not taking calls. I don't have the capacity at this point to have much more, sources such as for example, I thought about Zoom meetings, but Zoom meetings for a number of people are difficult because of the it's for some people it makes it somewhat too complex to try to log in and enter this number for the conference number and or open an account, and I thought it was too complicated. And videos will eventually be uploaded to my YouTube channel, which I already have, but YouTube said that they have 24 hours to allow me to go live. So that's coming next week. So let's just pour ourselves some coffee today, and before the wind blows me over. It's 60 degrees outside today, and it's chilly. For me, it is. I'm more of a fair weather loving person, but cold is not good for me. So let's have the first sip of this and try to make it a long series. Initially, it's going to be a summer and fall. Do we continue to winter? That's up to you, folks. That's good. Oh, Lucina, I have this. This is not George, but I have your housewarming gift coming to you next week, probably Monday. So, without further ado, welcome. And I initially feel like, oh, it's going to be great to have that many people looking at me while I'm doing this live. Well, it's not going to happen, and don't worry about it. Why? Because this video will be here and it will be uploaded into my YouTube channel. And so you already know about me. I'm not going to be making an intro, but I'm here to dispel hearsay and a lot of rumors that are absolutely unbased. A lot of people call me and share with me what they decided to do. Was it buying property under someone else's name? Was it creating a corporation? Was it creating a Fideicomiso, which they didn't know that the property is so large that there's a clause in the contract saying that they had to invest so much money, and now they figure out that, oh, is that clause actually binding? Am I going to be in trouble? Well, there's so much that you need to open your eyes to. See, and I know real estate agents, the majority of them don't want me involved. I don't mind because I don't work for them. I work for you, the buyer, the seller. Okay, an agent doesn't pay my fees. You do. But also on the other side of the coin, you, the buyer, you, the seller, are the one that is going to have to live with the consequences of not having had reliable professional real estate advice on legal issues, on tax issues, on estate planning issues. So buying property is one thing. Acquiring the property is another thing. But getting to know what is that you're getting yourself to is rather important. And I don't mind going online and saying, what are my fees, legal fees, to help you sell your property or to buy property? It's $5,000. And no, I do not represent both parties. I either represent the buyer or represent the seller. Okay, and a lot of agents don't like that. Here and there, they're meaning Baja Sur. I get clients saying, I want to buy property, but the agent said that they don't want an attorney involved, or they don't want you involved, namely, specifically. So I don't know if I take that as compliment or not, but I don't get annoyed because it's up to the client to decide what is best for him. But if he figures that $5,000 is too much of an insurance policy, the cost of to protect a $500,000 investment, boy, oh boy. Tell you what, my cars are not worth over $15,000, I think. But I do have insurance for all of them. Why? Because that's how I feel about it. So, anyways, next Monday is Memorial Day. So, my respects and gratitude to the families, to the people who serve the United States of America. And I'll go on record saying that I myself and my family are grateful for that, because even here in Tijuana, the westernmost point in Mexico, right across San Diego, California, we're beneficiaries of many of the advantages and way of living in the United States of America. So I don't want, if others don't like it, this is how I feel about it. So my respects to the United States of America, my respects to the people, to the families who have served in battles and represented democracy. I may not agree with all battles, but with all wars, but at least if I were to go back to World War I or World War II, that's different. Either way, thank you for your service, those people in the armed forces, and God bless you all. So what is it that we should start off with? Fideicomisos. What is a fideicomiso? The fideicomiso comes from the Latin word fideas committere, which means committing trust. Back then in Roman times, people would go to war and go into foreign countries and would leave their families, their state, their slaves, everything they owned behind, and they would entrust family, neighbors, someone to take care of their family and take care of the state. So they would commit that and say, you will be the patria familias. You will be enact and be responsible as a father would with regards to my family and my state. So that was the fideas part, the trust. That's where we talk about trust. That's what the term in Anglo-Saxon culture is, the trust, confianza, fideas committere, fideicomiso, fideas committere, fideicomisum. Okay, that's where it comes from. But why do we have fideicomisos in Mexico? Well, Mexico has been an independent nation since 1810 from Spain, but it's always lived under the shadow of the United States, of the power of the United States, of the expansion of the United States, the head Western philosophy that began the early 1800s. So, Mexico lost Texas in the 1824 revolution of Texas. Then in 1846, 1848, the United States armies invaded Mexico. And eventually it ended with General Winfield Scott, of who was commanding the invading forces assembled at the Zócalo in Mexico City, right across the Palacio Nacional, where the Congress had been assembled in order to decide if they would accept the generous proposal of the United States to compensate Mexico for taking over half our territory. I figured that out. You know, you have the army out there. It's like you've been put into your bedroom, okay, and someone broke into your house, and they're armed, and they're in the living room, and you only have a way out going through the living room. But that's where you have those people who took over your house, okay, and they have guns there, and they're telling you, take it or leave it. We're going to give you this, okay. But they were not about to leave if you were to say, no, I'm not taking your proposal. Well, eventually Congress of Mexico accepted that proposal and sold, okay, the territories to the United States of America. Check that out in history books because I didn't make it up. So with time, in 1917, the Constitution of Mexico is amended, and Article 27, one of the sections of Article 27 specifies that foreigners under no circumstances shall be able to directly own property along the borders and coasts, up to 50 kilometers from the borders and up to 100 kilometers from the coast. During that time, there were no fideicomisos until 1973, when Mexican President of Mexico, Luis Echeverría Álvarez, amended the foreign investment law and allowed the fideicomiso to exist. The fideicomiso already existed, but for different purposes. This was basically to be able to allow foreigners to acquire the use and enjoyment of property along those forbidden areas. I call them constitutionally restricted areas, which are the borders and coasts. Yes, 50 kilometers and 100 kilometers. Well, 50 from the borders, 100 kilometers from the coast. But you would say, well, heck, you know, Baja California is this narrow, so there's sure to be some gaps in between where we don't need a fideicomiso, aren't there? Well, no, because eventually Mexico's government decided that the whole peninsula of Baja California, for practical purposes, since it's locked in, because we have the Gulf of California to one side and we have the Pacific Ocean to the other, so they decided that the whole peninsula of Baja California is out of bounds. It's zona prohibida, a constitutionally restricted area, so it requires a fideicomiso. So I did say that the Constitution forbids foreigners from acquiring and directly owning property along the restricted zones. So what is the difference now? Well, the fideicomiso allows, under the foreign investment law, a banking institution to be contracted, to be hired by a buyer, by a foreigner, to hold the deed of the property in trust on behalf of the buyer. So the buyer becomes a trust beneficiary owner, okay? And the fideicomiso in 1973 was initially for 30 years renewable. But before they expired, the first fideicomiso expired around 2003, actually in the late 90s, Mexico upgraded that to a fideicomiso to be 50 years. But it had to be renewed specifically. It wasn't automatic. A lot of fideicomisos I've seen have already expired and people don't even know because they had that fideicomiso or they had it transferred over because they bought property into an existing fideicomiso and they didn't actually make much note of the fact that there was 20 years or 5 years left. Now, I've seen people trying to sell property and they get stuck, hit a wall, because they notice or they eventually are told, actually by a notario, by a closing agent, that the fideicomiso became expired some years ago. So what is the person selling property to do? He has to update, renew, extend the fideicomiso, okay? So without renewing that, it cannot be transferred. But the other option is that fideicomiso can be canceled and transferred on the same day from one bank to another bank. So fideicomiso gets canceled by the current bank, okay? And the property is transferred to a new fideicomiso starting today, okay, with a probably different institution, and that carries on into a 50-year fideicomiso. So again, careful with your fideicomiso. Make sure that it's interpreted to you so that you make sure what are the obligations you're actually taking over. Not only that, how many years do you still have there? So the idea is that you can add some properties to fideicomisos. Most of the banks have similar institutional policies. It's going cold. You can increase the properties that you have under the Fideicomiso, under that contract. And but some banks have some policies where they want you to set up either a new one, depending on the business. If it is good business for them, they will tell you what. Is it possible? Yes, it could be, but are they willing? No. Give you an idea. How many of you know or knew that you may not be allowed to have your U.S. or foreign trust be the trust owner of the property in Mexico under the Mexican trust? Yeah, you heard that right. You have a living trust, living well, whatever. And you want that trust to be the owner of the Fideicomiso Mexico. All the institutions that I have approached have refused to accept your trust, your family trust, your individual trust, to own the Mexican trust, the property under the Mexican trust. Why? I don't know. It's institutional policies, I've been told by all those banks, except one, okay? Well, there's one bank. I forgot the name. I have it somewhere there. Sophia. Either way, if someone wants me to post that, I'll do. Because, yeah, I know about IRAs. And an IRA is not allowed to be the trust owner of Fideicomiso Mexico, except with that one bank. But even if that one bank accepts the IRA to be the owner of the trust, or to have your foreign trust be the owner of the Mexican trust, make sure that what are you giving away? What are you giving away in Mexico? An IRA is not a resident. An IRA in Mexico is not a legal entity. It is in the U.S. It is a living trust. An IRA it's maybe a legal entity back in your home, but not in Mexico. Okay, but even if it was allowed to be the owner of the trust in Mexico, by the time you sell that property, you will notice that that you probably be somewhat of a profit. Or you may have a very nice, sizable profit. But guess what? Capital gains. That's in taxes, right? So capital gains is as much as 35% of the gain. So figure this out. You make 100,000 profits, right? You bought 200, you're selling 300,000, and you have 100,000 profit. But if you're going to be taxed 35%, you can kiss goodbye to those $35,000. That's a hard hit to take. Are there options for that? Well, not in your case, because you have an IRA, right? Or you have a corporation, a foreign-owned Mexican corporation, or you have your U.S. trust be the trust owner. Why don't you qualify for the tax exemption? Well, Article 93 of the Mexican income tax law specifies under Chapter 19, I believe, Roman, that the homeowner, know this, the homeowner, not the IRA, not the trust, not the corporation, the homeowner who has not sold its main residence over the past 3 years may be able to exempt up to 700,000 UDIs. Look out for the article. I've written about it many times. What is the UDI? It's a metrical. It's a figure used calculating cost of living. The UDI, same as the exchange rate, fluctuates every day, and it's published in Mexico. So every day except weekends. The UDI, I believe it was around 6.43. I'll look it up later. But if you were to multiply 700,000 UDI by 6.43, and I may be mistaken, but let's just look later for the article, you'll be getting 4.7 million pesos, pretty much so. You divide that, well, what's the change rate today, 19? It may be somewhere within $232,000 plus minus. So what does this mean to you? You bought a home for $250,000 and you're making a $100,000 profit. So you would be taxed 35% on the $100,000. But the rule says that you're able to exempt the 700,000 UDIs, which is 4.7 million. And the 4.7 million becomes $232,000. Well, if you were to be making 100,000 profit, but you be taxed 85%. With that exception, if you qualify for the exception, and it's my job to teach you how, that's why you retain my services, that's why you pay my fees, okay? I will be able to qualify you to be fully exempt up to $232,000, okay? So if you had a $100,000 profit, you're well below the $232,000 cap, right? But let's say that you actually bought a property that's worth so much more, and you may be making, say, $300,000. Well, if you had husband and wife or co-owners or family be the residents of that address under the Fideicomiso, and you have both your names there, or three names, whoever, co-owners, you're all home residents, right? You're homeowners. So what does the law says? Homeowner. It doesn't limit it to one. It's just generic. It's not that specific, but it's reflecting the homeowner, okay? So if you had up to $282,000 cap per individual, figure adding two or more as co-owners. Therefore, you will, if you had, say, $300,000 cap gains, and you said, well, heck, it's just that I only have 232, I'm going to be taxed on the difference. Well, you still made a nice savings, but if you have more than one owner, you're still tax-free, because 282 times 2 makes 464. And you were to be making $300,000 profit, you're still well above it, so you're not paying tax. But you would lose that, okay, if you had the IRA. You would lose that if you had created a Mexican corporation, because the Mexican corporation owns an asset. The Mexican corporation does not own a home. The Mexican corporation owns an asset, don't it? It is, same as in your country, well, same as in Mexico. So that's why you're kissing goodbye. So there's options for you to transfer property from your corporation into a real estate trust, but there's a lot of issues that have to be dealt with. So when I take a job, when I take your case, I make a thorough study of your circumstances. I check your trust or your corporate documents and deed where your corporation bought the assets. Many times people make this mistake. They create a corporation, but they leave it dormant. They don't report taxes. When you create a corporation, to skip the Fideicomiso, which is a terrible mistake in 90% of the cases. I'll go on record and say that that's a mistake 90% of the time, okay? Because you overheard that. Someone told you, oh, an accountant. Make sure that you rely on professional help and advice. Not because the man is an accountant, or not because the man is an attorney. Come on, you hire a jack of all trades to do specialist work. There's a lot of people that do what I do. I've been doing this since 1988. I was retained by Banco Nacional de Mexico as a trust executive, and I learned the Fideicomiso while in the bank. My professional thesis is the study of the Mexican trust, where I studied the trust of the world and compared that to Mexico's, and I found out the differences. So not only did I study and did I major with a specialty in Fideicomisos at law school, I also became a trust officer. I created Fideicomisos and managed Fideicomisos, guarantee investment, real estate within the bank system. My first job was taking care of the Fideicomiso of El Pedregal in Cabo San Lucas. So I toured the property many times. But what I'm saying is, I'm not improvised. I was brought up in the system. Now I'm an attorney, and I've been doing this for a long time. I feel I'm right at top when it comes to my profession, and I keep up because of changes with law, with customs, with banking, with taxation. So as I said before, you hire me, I make a study, I profile your circumstances and what is it that you want to do, and I look at the properties and the investment you want to make, the location, I due diligence, title search. I take care of you. I don't just take your money. No, I never take your money. I earn my money. And it figured that $5,000 is much too risk for you, and you're going to spend $100,000 or more. Well, it's your choice. You get what you pay. There's others that charge much less than 50%, and you have a choice. Go ahead. You figure, oh, heck, what's going to happen? Yeah, that's okay. Well, good luck to you, and then the other thing, you don't speak Spanish. You don't know the culture. You don't know customs. You don't know Fideicomisos. And you get this foreign language owner's manual, that being your Fideicomiso, and you figure, well, good luck with that, man. That's your money, your grief. I hope you never have issues, honest. But if you want to learn, to understand what is the process, hire me. I'm here. I don't take all cases. And I'm such a square guy. I am what I am. But as I keep saying, check the facts. Check the facts. I know a lot of times people keep saying, you're too confrontational. Well, no, it's just that I'm passionate. I'm driven because I take care of you as I would like you to take care of me if I was hiring your services to protect my family, my interest, my investment. Do I take that to heart? Well, I shouldn't I? So, careful when you buy property because you certainly do not want a real estate agent or the seller to impose a closure or cancel because conflict of interest. So, is there a conflict of interest in purchase? Sometimes it is. You find out sooner or later. And so, what else could happen? Well, if you are the buyer and you're buying this property, and let's assume that it's under a fideicomiso from a foreign seller, there's a lot of work to do on the due diligence by reviewing the fideicomiso. Is it current? Is it paid for? Does it owe property taxes? Is it free and clear? Is it under the name of the seller? Is it under the name of the spouse? Did one of the owners die and they didn't handle probate and they still hasn't been updated? There's a lot of moving parts. But again, if the buyer is going to be having to pay closing fees, make sure that you look and demand beforehand to be provided a list of closing fees. If you like a property, don't just go ahead and buy the property and keep your cool. Slow down. Don't act like a 15-year-old kid buying a scooter or something. Make sure what you're getting into way before it sells. Slow down. Just chill. Make sure what you're getting into. What are you getting into? If you consent to those closing fees and you enter that agreement, which oftentimes, most of the time, is drafted by the real estate agent, you will be giving the seller a free ride. Why? Because you're paying closing costs, right? So what is it that you should be paying? And what is the seller supposed to be paying? Okay? The seller should be supposed to be paying for his own bank fees to release the property and transfer and assign to you. Okay? When are you supposed to be paying anything? Well, when you become the trust owner. But also, that is with regards to the trust itself. But see, if you're going to be paying for the closer is going to be representing the buyer too. Okay? And there will be a point in which the buyer will be informed that there's capital gains. Sometimes that becomes a problem because either he was not informed, or he didn't know, or even the closer didn't know, or the agent didn't know. And when they come to the notario and you're talking about closing this next week, and then they find out that the seller has a substantial capital gains, then they slow down the pace because they don't want to pay the capital gains, particularly not when it's sizable, when it's substantial. So they want to qualify for capital gains exemption. Therefore, what is it that they do? They try to find out as soon as possible how to qualify and be exempted, and that sometimes pushes the deadline forward without the seller being aware of. But then again, you're paying for the closer to represent the seller to be able to qualify that. For that and do a whole bunch of stuff. He's getting a free ride on you. Come on. He should have his own closer. He should have his own counsel. You, the buyer, should have your own. And no, you should not accept to be imposed the closer. I insist. And I don't mind if you, the agent, or you, the closer, don't like this. That's how I like to take my cases. If I'm going to be asked or imposed by you, the buyer, or you, the seller, whoever retains me, to represent both, I'm not going to do it. Nope, I'm not a millionaire. How successful have I been? Well, I'm doing fine. I want to do better, of course, with your help, with those that actually want someone like me to represent them the right way. Okay, there's many ways to get things done, but just one way to do things by the book every time. But not every case is similar or identical to the other. Okay, so it requires a lot of work and a lot of consistent analysis. But if you want someone to handle both, hey, you're right, your money, I'm not involved. See ya. Okay, that's how I work. So again, I could probably have gone too far going on what is the Fideicomiso, where did it start? Oh, by the way, those people that still say, well, Rafael's just tooting his horn because Fideicomiso is going to be too expensive. Well, no, see things this way. You and I are buying property right next to each other. Let's assume that it's a condominium and I'm buying the one next to you, okay? I'm Mexican, you're not. So you have to get what, a Fideicomiso? Oh, no, yeah, I want a corporation. I don't want to be paying, Fideicomiso. Well, creating a corporation will cost you money. One of those bare bones, no frills type of corporations that you are given the keys and don't know where the ignition is, or you're giving a foreign language owner's manual that you don't know how to work. When you create a corporation, you have to pay money to incorporate. You have to pay the notary, you have to pay someone to do this, call it $750 to $5,000, whichever. It's going to cost you money, okay? Same as the Fideicomiso will. But you, as I said before, in a corporation or as an IRA or as a foreign trust, you don't qualify for capital gains exemption. Oh, and the other thing is, I forgot, one of the major benefits of the Fideicomiso is that you're totally exempt of probate. I leave a will and leave property. My daughter, on my passing, will have to file for probate. She has to get an attorney. She has to pay $12,000 to $18,000 to the attorney, and be anywhere from a year to 18 months in court to get the court to adjudicate the property to the executor or to the beneficiary. My hair. Under Fideicomiso, you totally skip that. There's no probate, but Mexicans have to go through probate. What happens if you die under a corporation? Not only did it cost you money to have the corporation, and you also had to have an accountant file tax reports every month, even if you have no income. It costs you to create a corporation. Having a bookkeeper is not for free. And let's say that he charges $50 a month. Okay, $50 times 12. How much is that? $600. What is the fee of the bank? $550. Sheer numbers. Simple math. You may need a Fideicomiso most of the time. Very few exceptions as to when it's best to have a corporation. Well, there's another topic that I wrote about, that there's a rule in Mexico that when it comes to property in a Fideicomiso and you're buying property which exceeds 2,000 square meters, vacant land, not a property in the sense that it has structure, vacant land. If you buy vacant land and it's 2,001 square meters or more, the investor under the trust will have to sign a commitment on behalf of the federal government. Well, he is bound to invest no less than $250,000 within 24 months from the moment that the Fideicomiso is created, or forfeit the property on behalf of the Mexican government. Yes, it's the article somewhere there. Is it binding? Yes. Has it been imposed? Not that I know of. Should you be concerned if you are under those circumstances? Yes, you should, because as I said before, that's a loaded weapon. The government can at any point demand all the banks, give me a list of those people that have Fideicomiso where they committed to invest this much money within this time frame, and tell me if they have fulfilled that obligations. And the government will be able to forfeit the property whenever they want. Yes, sir. So when is it justified to create a corporation and be exempted of Fideicomiso and that investment clause? When the property exceeds 2,001 square meters. you can leave me and look at my articles discussing that and suggesting that, but it's not for everyone, okay? So, anyways, I've talked about a number of issues all revolving around the Fideicomiso, and it's, I'm beyond my deadline here, and I have not seen any, I was just looking at Baja legal advice and checking and see if there were any questions which I may address if I read them later, but I went on too long. So I don't see anyone actually asking questions. So anyways, okay, JR. I'm a U.S. citizen, permanent Mexico resident. I'm married to a Mexican citizen. My 200,000 home is in a FIDE. We intend to sell it in 2-3 years. Is there an advantage to adding her to the deed? No, because your $200,000 home, how much of a gain, JR, do you figure to be making? You're not going to be taxed on the acquisition cost. If you bought at 200,000, you're selling at 200,000, you're making no profit. So you're breaking even. You're not making a gain. Therefore, you have no capital gains. But if you're selling and making whatever profit, that will be taxed at 35%. But if you're already a permanent resident of Mexico and you have your utility bills made out to you with that same address, and you have a tax ID and that visa, either permanent or temporary, you will be able to be accepted up to $232,000. So there's no need to add her. Yeah, you have up to $232,000 of exemption. You're only making $100,000 profits, so you're well below that. You don't need to add your wife. You can add her if you want, but it serves no purpose because you still have quite enough. Hey Tamara, how are you? It's been a while. So who else is here? Yeah, let me just go up here. Somehow I cannot scroll on my timeline here. I'm looking at the laptop. So anyways, talk about probably the most essential topics. Oh shoot. Hey. Too many distractions. I'm gonna have to bring this to a close. Sandra Castillo. Well, it's been a quick 37 minutes. Thank you so much. If you have questions, send me a note. Go on to Baja Legal Advice. My phone number is 619-409-2016. My email is Rafael Solorzano m@gmail.com, and my cell phone is 664-188-7001. And well, 15 people connected. That's good. That's good. I expected less. How many are your family? Hola Alejandra, Carmen, hola hija. Hey Michelle, thank you. Hi Cindy. Anyways, next week I'm taking this on the road and visiting my friend Canoa Biondolillo at Baja 123 and Marena, Club Marena. And he's an ace. He's a great guy. He's very fluid, very knowledgeable. I like him. We're friends. And I have I'd say that's a top real estate agency in North Baja. And so next Saturday, June the 5th, it's at Canoa. I'm gonna be a freeloader on his good coffee. So Canoa, get ready, and Luis Soriano. I'm seeing you guys next Saturday, 10 a.m. And the following week, I have invited Denise Stubbs from Baja Live. Denise Stubbs at liveinloreto.com. She's the top agent in Loreto. Yes, I'm going on record saying that. There's good agents in Loreto, but my go-to person is Denise Stubbs at liveinloreto.com. So I wish I could travel and be there with you, Denise, on the 12th, because yes, that's the 12th, Saturday, June 12th. Let's just find a way to have you go live with me as well, because I want you to talk about real estate in Loreto and your vicinity. In the case of Canoa, anything you like, my friend. You're the ace. You lead the way. I just follow, and I'll do just a quick intro. In the coming weeks, I may be alone as I'm here today, but it would be great for you to go online and send me, or go on Baja Legal Advice and tell me what is it you would like me to discuss, okay? Either way, you can always retain my services for a private consultation. Again, I hope this has been entertaining, and if you haven't found out anything that you didn't already know, that's fine too. You already are way ahead of the game, way ahead of many others. Again, don't take any wooden nickels, or else I keep saying, I shine that wooden penny. It's going to cost you more than a penny, okay? We're going to go for the $6 haircut. It may cost you a bunch to get it corrected, but I still correct $6 haircuts for 20 bucks, okay? Adam, I'm buying bank-owned property from Banco Bilbao and ready to get a Fideicomiso. Banco Bajío. Can you help with getting the Fideicomiso set up correctly? Of course, but make sure to understand that Banco Bilbao Vizcaya, or BBVA, is one of the slow banks. So it will have an impact on time to get this transferred. But it's always best to get out of a slow bank like them and switch over to a new Fideicomiso. That's what I do, okay? How do you get a list of bank-owned properties? There's no way. There's no such thing, Jose Castillo. You cannot get a list of bank-owned properties. I have no idea. Banks do not own properties that they've taken from Fideicomisos. I never heard of them taking properties that have defaulted on Fideicomiso payments and then adjudicating that. It's not something they do. I haven't heard of that, so sorry, I have no answer for that. Adam, send me an email and we can talk, or call me at 619-409-2016. What else? Have I missed any other questions here? Adam, I already addressed that. Michelle, thank you. Tamara, did you ask a question, Tamara? Let's see. Scrolling down, sorry for the finger here. Tamara, listening to what you have such. Thank you. Yeah, I remember years ago I believe you're from Canada, and you approached me and you decided to go and opt for someone else's expertise. Call me later. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. It hasn't been perfect, but again, I'm driven by this. I love what I do. I was born to do this. I want to keep right and going and doing things for you. I may not be the best fit every time, but as I said, you have options. Just make sure what is it that you're getting to. If you're going to get a closer to do this for you, make sure he doesn't work for the other party as well, where you're paying for a free ride for the other party. And it's not only that, the fact that you may not be the beneficiary of full disclosure, because if that closer finds out about something that shouldn't be there, or doesn't understand how to interpret it to you because there's a cloud on title, he may not say anything about it because he would kill the deal. Would he open his mouth? No, he wouldn't. Would I open my mouth? Yes, I will. Thank you. Bye now.